Welcome back to the Daily Factor. We now go to our international updates, and of course, we will be in the continent of Africa. And every Friday, we of course welcome OZAYR PATEL, the digital editor of the Conversation Africa. OZAYR, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And again, jazakallah for joining us.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Faraz.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. I think, OZAYR, we have to start off in Cabo Delgado. It's getting worse by the day. Of course, SADC and a few AU members went in to go ahead and negotiate. Just your take on what had happened, and of course, how close are we to achieving some sort of peace?
Yes, Faraz. Cabo Delgado and Mozambique is still a mess. As you've rightly said, SADC and the EU have been meeting to discuss what the best steps are. And SADC has now popularly endorsed plans to send troops into northern Mozambique. The Cabo Delgado region is gas rich and has seen a spate of attacks recently. Just for some context, since 2017, there's been 3,000 people who've been killed and almost 800,000 people displaced, and most of those were children. The situation is quite bad over there. Basically, the insurgents have grown because of political marginalization, and these are largely poor and rural Muslim and people who have just been forgotten. And ever since gas has been found in the region, it's become quite tense. And I don't think we're very close to peace. The resolution looks like it's set to continue. I mean, the conflict looks like it's set to continue. But another worrying thing is that SADC should be wary of sending in troops. The body doesn't have a good track record of sending troops into places. If you look in 1998, they sent troops into Lesotho and had to retreat. So it's a tough game that they're playing. The insurgency they will be taking on if they send troops is particularly skilled at guerrilla warfare and gaining territory. And they've also been known to attack civilians as well as foreigners. So it's a move SADC need to highly consider. I think it would be wiser for them to negotiate with Mozambique and ask them to lead and come up to a diplomatic resolution with the insurgency, because that seems like the best option right now.
Yeah, well, moving to the southern part of the continent, we move to the eastern part of the continent. Conflict again, but there was an election week in Ethiopia, but the situation in Tigray, OZAYR, it just continues to again spiral out of control.
It does. So this week, an airstrike by Ethiopian forces killed 64 people and wounded 180. An Ethiopian army spokesperson said that the attack was aimed at rebels in plain clothes. But for us, the shocking part is that the attack took place in a market where there's mostly civilians, and many women and children were injured or wounded in this attack. And this story of plainclothes rebels is not being bought. The UN has called for an investigation into the attack, and there's just been conflict after conflict since November last year. But yeah, as you rightly say, there has been elections this week. Elections took place on Monday, and the count is still taking place. So currently, the Prime Minister is Abiy Ahmed, and it's likely that he'll win again. Most people in Ethiopia believe that a dramatic change in leadership would be risky. There's also been rumors that he has significantly weakened his political opponents, either through jailing or attacks or political killings. But it's safe to say Ahmed Abiy's Prosperity Party are frontrunners. But either way, whoever wins, there is two possible paths for the country to follow, and that one would be nation building, the other would be more authoritarian. And nation building obviously would be ideal because less lives would be lost, and resolving ethnic clashes or tensions in the country, which has been common for many, many years, for decades. And the authoritarian path obviously would be where Abiy is the leader of law and order. But this leads to lawlessness, and there is a loss of sense of security and safety among the masses already. It's a more risky path.
OZAYR, 99% of our continent are yet to be vaccinated. This is a sad state of affairs which is currently happening. Vaccination in Africa, we saw President Cyril Ramaphosa with the World Health Organization speak about a consortium for the distribution of vaccines right here in Africa. but we're still far away from that, aren't we?
So we are. It's quite a dire situation. The World Health Organization, or the WHO, have expressed concern about it, especially because most or many African countries are heading into their third wave right now. South Africa as well. There's, like you say, less than 1% of African countries have been vaccinated, and that's in comparison with places like the US or the UK, who have around 50% of the country being vaccinated. And sure, they have different facilities, so you're not exactly comparing apples with apples, but it's still concerning because it seems as though the vaccines have been kept away from African countries, and richer countries are hoarding these vaccines. And to fight COVID-19, it's essential for people to be vaccinated. So the World Health Organization are at the moment quite concerned about it, and they are trying to push for African countries to produce their own vaccine manufacturing capabilities. And these would be in the form of enhancing capabilities, skills, as well as labs on the continent to produce the vaccines. At the moment, the World Health Organization are working with labs like Afrigen, looking to build these skills, and there are facilities being planned on the continent. There are rumors that are saying that they could be up and running in about 15 months, where a couple of African countries will have basically the capabilities and the skills to produce their own vaccines.
OZAYR Patel, digital editor at The Conversation Africa. We say Jazakallah to you again, and we'll see you inshallah again next week Friday.
Jazakallah, take care, brother.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Well, OZAYR Patel just breaking down some of the most important stories coming out of the continent this week. After the break, we'll be shifting our attention to the community news. Stay tuned.